You're watching once again a YouTube video presentation of the University of Wyoming Center on Aging. I'm Scott Veach. I'm your host, and on this program we'll be discussing topics of interest for caregivers of loved ones with dementia. We hope that you will subscribe to the channel and you'll hit that thumbs up like button. Both of those actions help the channel to grow and allow us to reach more people. And if you'll tap that notification bell, you'll be alerted each time we upload a new program. And now, this is Once Again. My guest today is Lou Farley. He is the spiritual director of Hospice of Laramie. And he was with us on one of our Wyoming Dementia Together programs back in February of 2024. And we're actually doing this interview about a month after that program. And he had so many great things to say and so many relevant things to say to caregivers of those living with dementia that we certainly wanted to have him back and join us here on Once Again. Lou, thanks so much for being with us. When you spoke in February of 2024 to the Wyoming Dementia Together group, the title of your program was Creating Peaceful Space. Wow, that's a lot. What does that mean?
Thanks for having me, Scott. It's a pleasure to be able to share with you. Creating peaceful space is referring to a capacity that we have to get quiet inside, to be able to still our thoughts and our feelings and our physical activity, our verbiage, to a point where we can experience a peace that is accommodating of, acknowledging of, and respectful of the experiences we're actually going through without a lot of judgment, bias, or commentary from ourselves or anyone else.
When we talk about creating a peaceful space, is that a learned experience? Does it come naturally? How do we get it?
I think it's a great question. I think it's a natural proclivity that human beings have, but there are a lot of distractions away from it. And so it's kind of like not noticing your left hand because you're too busy doing so many things with your life that you go, oh, I forgot I have a left hand. Well, when we're taking care of patients and families and loved ones, sometimes we can get so wrapped up in the caretaking that we forget, so to speak, we have the left hand always with us. That is our natural birthright of peace and a type of dignity, a type of equanimity that has value in caring for ourselves and caring for our loved ones with dementia.
How do we know what a peaceful space is? How do we get there? How do we know when we're there?
It's by what's not there.
Okay.
You know, you're in Laramie because you're
Yeah.
not in New York.
Right.
Okay. It's a similar kind of dynamic. Is you'll know that you've achieved that peace when the verbiage, the activities, the thoughts, the feelings that we're all so addicted to, so habituated to, particularly in caretaking dementia, it can become overwhelming, and medication and bathroom regimens and eating regimens, that we can forget that we have this natural ability to slow down and get quiet and still.
Does it look different for everybody? Each individual, is it unique?
How we get there, I think the peace and the space is a universal, but I think how one may attain it can be individualized. So, for example, I say to some people that I'm working with who are caretaking people with dementia, I may say to a particular type of person, I'm going to ask you to go outside and for 10 minutes a day, just go for a walk and smell, hear, taste sometimes, see and without judgment experience it. Just walk out there for 10 minutes and don't say to yourself, well, that's a beautiful flower, or it's freezing today, or anything like that. To just go, if one finds one's thoughts racing or verbiage or judgment, I tell people just go shh and get quiet and walk without judgment and be present for what's actually happening without us imposing our preferences or our biases on that. And what that does is it gives people an opportunity, one, to become more acutely aware of what is available in the moment, what's being required in the moment, and what resources we bring to it. Sometimes when we're caretaking with our family, our loved ones, we can get so wrapped up in what we're thinking about, what we're feeling, what we're expecting, that we actually lose touch with the patient, with the family, with the loved one, because we're thinking of them more in terms of responsibilities and timeframes than who they actually are in that moment.
You talked about just taking a walk outside and really experiencing it. When you spoke to our Wyoming Dementia Together group, you said it's important to practice creating the peaceful space. Is that kind of what you're doing when you're going outside?
Absolutely. Whatever neural pathways, Scott, we habituate to, they will get stronger, they will get deeper, they will get more resilient. And so sometimes when I make this recommendation to caretakers, they'll come back and they'll say, man, that is hard. That is a very challenging thing to do, is walk out without commentary for 10 minutes and just see and hear. And what I say to them is there's no such thing as a poor practice. All we're doing is we're moving habituated neurological pathways away from that which can exhaust us to that which can replenish us. And so those pathways initially may be very undeveloped and very shaky and not particularly stable. But what I say to people, it's not the longevity of a practice like that benefits our neurology and our caretaking abilities. It is the frequency. So I say, do that at least once a day. And you'll get better at it. The neurology will form in such a way that becomes the neurological path of least resistance. And we are then in it's strengthened position to care for our loved ones.
Our guest is Lou Farley. He is the spiritual director of Hospice of Laramie. This is once again a YouTube video presentation of the University of Wyoming Center on Aging. We invite you to subscribe to the channel. We hope you'll hit that thumbs up like button. Both of those actions will help our channel to grow and allow us to reach more people. And if you'll tap that if you'll tap that notification bell, you'll be alerted each time we upload new content. One of the things that you also said, and you were just talking about how doing something every day can kind of rewire your focus as you continue on your journey as a caregiver. You also talked about creating affirmations, and I thought that was really, really important, really good too. What do we mean when we create affirmations, positive affirmations?
Positive affirmations are of a few different types, Scott. One is self-affirmation. I think it's essential that caretakers understand the compassion, the patience, the flexibility, the courage, the generosity that they are showing every day as primary caregivers of those with dementia. So that's one type, to be able to acknowledge this is not an easy path, but I'm doing it, and I'm doing it out of love and care for my family. That deserves a moment's thought anyway. Another type of affirmation is that which acknowledges what and who is still present in front of you in the form of a dementia patient. So often we can focus on that which is lost. Oh, you know this, Scott. My dad died of vascular dementia after 7 years wrestling with it in July of 2022. And so that is a very hard, long row to hoe. And what I became aware of in visiting him, I was never his primary caregiver. My sisters were in New Jersey. I live in Wyoming. And so I would go visit him and support my sister's caretaking in any ways that I could. But when I would go there, I was like, Lou, pay attention to what remains of Dad. The capacity he still maintains. For example, what people give up in terms of cognitive and verbal abilities, in my experience with my own dad and some patients, is that what is given up is counterbalanced by this heightened sensitivity to the emotionality and the feeling tone of the environment within the patient, within the dementia. And so I would be with my dad and I would be watching and I go, oh my gosh, I could see his heart more unobstructedly, more cleanly, more purely because of the dementia than I ever could when he was running a rat race in his own head. Yeah. And I thought, what precious times these are to spend with my dad. And I think you also know that my relationship with him was not the smoothest. When I was a child, I was growing up, I was a wild man, and he was a very patient guy, but we banged into each other pretty frequently until I left home and came out to Wyoming, and there was less interaction. But I'm sitting with my dad and interacting with him in a completely blessed and new and healed way, because all of that drama, all of those memories, all of the conflict that we were capable of no longer mattered at all to him, and therefore it didn't matter a wink to me. And it was very, very precious time, particularly the last 3 years of his life, where I got to be with, I could see my dad's heart unobstructedly.
There is actually a, excuse me, a video that exists, a short video of Lou with his dad. And that is going to be a great teaser because that's coming up in part 2. We're wrapping up part 1 now. And Lou, I also want to talk about gratitude, which is what you've begun to express. We'll do that in part 2. So we invite you to stay tuned for that episode coming up on the next edition of Once Again. You've been watching Once Again, a YouTube video presentation of the University of Wyoming Center on Aging. We hope, if you haven't done so already, that you'll subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up like button. Both of those actions help the channel to grow and allow us to reach more people. And if you'll tap that notification bell, you'll be alerted each time we upload a new video. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm Scott Veach. We'll see you again next time.